Welcome back to the shop. I am The.Daily.Racer, and this is my daily shop. Now, I apologize for sound quality. We're not going to be using our microphone today. There's been a lot of weird stuff going on. My audio and video keeps getting out of sync, and I haven't figured that out. I haven't figured out why yet. But we're not going to use the microphones. There's a little bit of noise interference right now from the wonderful babbling brook that is next to my shop here. It's nice to listen to, but that's what you're hearing. In any case, if you've been following along, we've bought a race car, we've worked on a race car, and we've driven a race car. And in the meantime, we've worked on some daily drivers and some various things like that. Now, today is all about rig maintenance. What gets me to and from the racetrack with this race car. Let's get into it. Now, I should say today is mostly about rig maintenance. We are right in the middle of all this COVID-19 business. North Carolina is under a statewide shelter-at-home order, as are many other states in the country. So I am trying to not order a lot of parts and supplies so that I don't have to go out and get them or make someone bring them to me. There's a lot of delivery shortages and there's lots of stuff like that going on. So I'm trying to sort of pull in a little bit, stay at home, follow the order, and do the best I can. So we're going to be working on a couple different cars. We're going to be working on my truck. We got to do the valve cover gaskets on my truck, and we need to do a wheel bearing on my fiance's daily driver. So it's not all about rig maintenance, but I'm doing the best I can with the parts that I already have with me here in the shop. But before we get into that, I want to show you guys another project that I did off camera. I should have filmed it. I just didn't think it would be like a big thing, but I'm actually really proud of how it came out. I think it came out really nice. And that is this chair. So, cool things to note here are it is a folding aluminum rocking chair. It rocks and it folds. It's an aluminum chair. And it's a good camping chair. And so it's really neat in that way. I've not seen a lot of these. Now, this is my grandfather's chair. The second cool thing is I re-webbed it using old race belts. You can see there's Safe Quip here, Pyrotect here, G-Force here, M&R here. So it's, I think it's kind of a neat little thing that I did, neat little project here. If you want to see how it was made, follow me on Instagram at The.Daily.Racer, same thing I am here. You can see it in my archived stories. I'm really proud of how it came out. I think it's super cool, and it's actually pretty comfortable as well. So anyway, that was something I did off camera that I should have filmed, but I don't know. I just didn't really think about it beforehand. So, in any case, you can see my motorcycle is here. So we need to clear this space and make some room to work on the car. Let's jump into that. So for this video, I wanted to try something a little bit different. I wanted to try my hand at voiceover. I've been thinking about trying to do a voiceover for quite some time. I think that it'll make some of the filming a little easier. I think it's easier to kind of walk you through what's going on this way, as opposed to trying to do it on camera and I have to stop working and start recording and then set up the shot and so on and so forth. So we're going to try a voiceover and see how it goes. What I'm doing now is what I call resetting the shop. This shop is a good size. It's about 25 by 25 roughly, and there's plenty of space here, but you get a car in there and you get a toolbox and some workbenches and stuff like that, and the space kind of closes up, especially when you have this big motorcycle lift like I have here. And so before I start a job, I reset the shop for whatever the job is that I'm doing. And obviously today we're going to work on some cars, so I need to make a bay to work in. Now, I also like to go through and kind of sweep things up and clean up the space because I know I'm going to be crawling around on the ground and stuff, but you guys don't really need to see that, so we can just go ahead and we'll get the Subaru in and start on this wheel bearing. The first step to this job is to jack up your car. No, I'm kidding. This is not a tutorial. It's not that kind of video. Well, mostly I just wanted to make a Mighty Car Mods joke, but also I just want to show you kind of what it's like to work in the shop and what it's like to actually do the job. So I'm gonna go get a jack stand, get it up under there. We'll get the car supported and we'll get to work. One note I do want to make is for bulk filming, I need to switch to my GoPro because I just don't have that kind of space on my phone. So I do apologize for the drop in video quality that you're about to see, but until I can get a better rig, this is what we're gonna have to deal with. The car is supported. Let's pop this wheel off and get to work. So I had a whole section of video here that was me kind of talking you through wheel bearings, the choices that I made, comparing them side by side. That video got just completely messed up and I can't really fix it and I don't want to record a new section, so we're just going to do it like this, and I will kind of talk you through the decisions that I made as we have this beautifully framed shot of my knee. Now, I bought a Subaru genuine part. I went to the dealership, I paid big bucks, and I got the wheel bearing. Now, I've always used, call it aftermarket wheel bearings, call it cheap wheel bearings, always used them, and until recently, they worked just fine. Now, in my personal experience recently, and I've talked to the guys at Subaru dealerships, I've talked to other people, some of my buddies who are working on their cars as well, and it seems as though something has changed. Materials have changed, and you just can't get good, cheap wheel bearings anymore. You used to be able to pay low prices, get an aftermarket wheel bearing, and it wasn't a problem. Well, now these things are failing like crazy. The wheel bearing that I took off of this car is just not that old. It's a few months old, doesn't have a lot of miles on it, and it's roaring like crazy. So it was a really, really bad wheel bearing. Um, and it was an aftermarket part that I did myself just a few months ago. So that's really disappointing. So after some reflection and looking at my own habits, I decided go ahead, buy the part directly from Subaru, which is what I did, and you can see it laying there. Everything about the part was nicer. It's a much nicer piece. You can just hold them side by side and really tell some big manufacturing differences. So the lesson here is just buy the expensive part, buy OEM wheel bearings. Now, wheel bearings specifically, I'm still using aftermarket parts for a lot of other things. Most anything else really, it is fine to buy aftermarket, but for whatever reason, you gotta spend the money on a good wheel bearing. So I went to Subaru. I paid $200 for this Subaru genuine part. We'll talk more about numbers a little bit later on in the video. I'd like to get a little deeper into it,
But for now, just know that I went ahead and bought a real Subaru part. It seems you just can't get away with aftermarket wheel bearings anymore. So, with that, let's go ahead and finish this job and we'll jump into the next one.
Okay, so I test drove the vehicle. It's nice and quiet. That wheel bearing was getting kind of loud. It's funny how those things sort of intrude on the car noise and you really don't notice it. It's nice and quiet, so that is one project done. Next, we're going to work on my truck. We're going to bring it in and get the valve cover gaskets done. I don't expect that to be a big job. It's not something I've ever done before. I've done a lot of work to that truck, but I've never really done any motor work to it exactly. But I don't expect it to be that hard. I've been kind of looking at it and studying it. It should be a breeze. I've got valve cover gaskets here, ready to go. Now, one thing that I would like to do with this video is talk a little bit about what I actually save by doing this. It's easy to say that, oh, you do your own work and you can save some money. And like, that's fine, and that's not a secret. That's not new. I'm sure you guys know that. But I want to put some hard numbers to it. So at the end of the video, I've called around to some shops and dealerships. And I've got a few quotes and stuff. So at the end of the video, I'd like to go over those and put some hard numbers on what we're actually doing here. You know, it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon. You're not going to be out doing whatever, anything. But I'm here in the shop working on my stuff, making sure everything is in order. Now, I kind of enjoy doing this. I enjoy working on cars as a hobby. It keeps the mind going. It keeps me busy and thinking about stuff. So I don't really mind it. But there's got to be a payoff for spending my time this way, right? And so in the video, we're going to go over some of those numbers and really put some hard facts to it and see what we save. In any case, it's time to get the truck in here and start pulling apart those valve covers. Let's get to it.
So, like I said, I've done very little work topside on this truck. I did that alternator. I had to put a radiator in it shortly after I bought it, and I did the fan clutch as well. But I've not done a lot of work on top of this thing. After some studying and stuff like that, it's really simple. The bolts I'm pulling out now are a mounting plate kind of for the coil packs. They bolt directly to the valve cover, and I'm pulling all that apart right now. Um, the hardest part about this, it's not very hard at all, but on that back side, that rearmost bolt is up against the firewall. But once that's out of the way, there's a connector right there on top that I've got the light on, and this big wiring harness comes from the battery and goes to the main engine harness there. So that's kind of in the way. But we've got the coil pack cage, I'm gonna call it, this big mounting plate bracket, I'll say, is off. Um, and at this point, it's just a matter of taking care of some of the wire looming, popping off some of those things, and then the cage itself can fall right down next to the exhaust manifold. Kind of gets sandwiched down in there. And after that, it's just a matter of the four bolts that hold the valve cover itself on, which I'm doing those now. And they're mounted in rubber, so it can be kind of tough to, you know, get those out of there. But out comes the valve cover, and what happens next? You got to clean. You got to clean everything because if it's dirty, it's not going to seal. And so, as you can see, part of the cleaning is to clean the valve cover itself because that thing was rank. It was awful. But so I used some brake clean and some rags and some brushes and got everything kind of cleaned up, and I wiped off the head surface where it mounts to as well. And after this, it's really just a matter of reversing that process, put it all back together. Now, like I said, those four main bolts are in rubber, so you got to kind of tighten those in a sequence, kind of equally, because so it'll pull tight properly. And then you just pick up your coil pack mounting plate and put it back in place. In the bolts go. Um, it's I was actually kind of surprised at how easy this would be. I figured it would be easy because it's a valve cover. Valve covers are almost never hard unless it's a front wheel drive car, a V6. Sometimes those are pretty tough. But GM had this sorted out. It's super simple. Once all the bolts are tight, once our wire looms are back in place, we are good to go. Okay, so the observant viewers will notice that I have magically changed my clothes. I've been editing the video, and it turns out this final section, this outro, got way messed up.
I don't know why yet, but something about my phone and my editing software are just not getting along very well. So we are back on the GoPro recording again to close out this video. Now, as you saw, the valve cover gaskets went really well in the truck. It's a really easy job, and it's a really satisfying job as well. Being able to put clean valve covers back in there after how grody they were, that was pretty awesome. So, like I said earlier in the video, I want to go through some numbers to show why this is so important. I called a couple of dealerships and a couple of local shops to get some prices for this, so we have a bit of a range that we can work within. We'll start with the wheel bearing. Between $600 and $700 to pay someone else to do what you watched me do earlier in the video. That took me about 45 minutes or so. Probably would have taken less if I wasn't filming and trying to set up a shot and everything. But we'll say $650 on an average to pay someone else. Take out the $200 that we paid for the part itself. That's $450 in a single job that we're able to put back in our pockets and hold on to. So $450 to start. Now, funny enough, the valve cover gasket kit, that is about the same margin. I paid about 15 bucks for a Velcro gasket kit. I use Velcro a lot. I think they make a great product. I'm not concerned about getting a bad part there. But it would have cost me about $400 to $430 to pay someone else to do that job. Now, within this range, there's labor rates and differences and part cost differences and really whether or not the shop even wants to take on the job. That stuff is all kind of in this range, so keep that in mind. But we save about another $400 by doing the truck valve cover gaskets ourselves, so that's $850 that we saved in a matter of probably 2 or 3 hours all together. That's such a huge number. You know, it's really easy to say, oh, you save money by doing your own work. Well, this is it. Those are the hard numbers. We saved $850 in a couple hours. So I think that is awesome. Now, I know that I have all of these tools at my disposal. I've been collecting for years and years and years. I get that, but even if you had to buy the tools to do these 2 jobs yourself, $150, you know, maybe $200 toolkit from Lowe's would have done both these jobs easily. You watch me use all these regular hand tools, a couple of extensions, sockets, wrenches, and a ratchet, done, not a problem. So, you know, even if you have to go and buy the tools yourself, you get back the cost of those tools immediately, the first 2 jobs that you do. So that's pretty awesome. And that's why I do this. That $850, that is 2 or 3 entry fees for me to go racing. It's not quite, but it's almost a brand new set of race tires for this car. And it will easily cover your fuel to get there, to race, and to get back, and your food for the weekend, all inside that $850 or so. Any one of those things you could pay for, and we did it in a single afternoon. So these numbers are huge. They're not something to scoff at, and it's worth looking into doing your own work so that you can do this. This is part of the game when you're a regular person trying to drive race cars. You do stuff like that, and it's massively impactful. Now, I am looking forward to the next video. I'm actually looking at our next project right in front of you, or right in front of me, right behind you. I'm really excited about it. With all the stay-at-home orders that most of the country is under, I wanted to pick a project that was kind of big, kind of different, a little complicated, and will take some time to kind of put together. I wanted to pick something like that so that we have something special to do while we're, call it, on break. I am super pumped. There's going to be some fabricating. This is not something I've ever done before, so I'm really excited to show you guys. Anyway, that's the next video. Thank you for watching this video. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing. I just want to show you what it's like to be a poor race car driver. Let me know what you guys are working on. The world needs some positivity, so let's work together to put some positivity out there. I want to know what you guys are working on while you're stuck at home. This is a great time to get stuff done. I myself am not able to buy a lot of parts and supplies right now, obviously, so I'm working with what I've got here at the house already. But I want to see what you guys are working on. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're working on. And thank you for watching. Get out to your shop. Get out to your garage. Get out to your driveway, your yard, whatever you've got. Get out there and get something cool done. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.